1, 2, 3, check, check, check. Can you guys hear me? Good stuff. We'll get going in about 20 minutes. I just wanted to pass along the message. I see a lot of you have already been there. You can get merchandise at a tent. You just walk straight down there on the right-hand side. I got this really cool Alberta Republic hat. And if you got a flag, wave it right now. Could you do that? Looking good. So the merchandise is down there, and just a reminder, if you bring anything here and you have any garbage, take it out with you and put it in a receptacle, okay? Today we want to keep this place spick and span when we leave here today. Thanks very much. We'll get underway in about 20 minutes.
roots run deep and the money trees grow. Sweet home Alberta, big pigs, cattle and rodeo. Sweet home Alberta, the roots run deep and the money trees grow. Sweet home Alberta, big pigs, cattle and rodeo.
Test, test. Test, test. Just a little heads up, if you want to get a flag for the rally, head down to the tent. They're available there right now. You've got about 15 minutes to get them. Thank you so much.
From the rolling prairies to the shining waters, this land was made for you and me. As I went walking through fields of barley, past rivers winding and foothills sparkling, I felt freedom, the pride, the promise. This land was made for you and me. From Jasper's ranges to Drumheller's valleys, from East Country forest to the Edmonton rallies, our hearts are steadfast, our hands are willing. This land was made for you and me. When the dawn is breaking on a blue skyline and the wild rose blooms in the summer sunshine, we stand together forever proudly. This land was made for you and me. This land is our land. This land is Alberta. From the Rocky Mountains to the northern border, from the rolling prairies to the shining waters, this land was made for you and me. Before us all, here the nations gather, the Cree, the Blackfoot, the Dene, the Nakota. Their songs still echo through sky and valley. This land was shared by you and me. This land is our land. This land is Alberta. From the Rocky Mountains to the northern border, from the rolling prairies to the shining waters, this land was made for you and me. This land is our land. This land is Alberta. From the Rocky Mountains to the northern border, from the rolling prairies to the shining waters. Oh, Canada, you broke my heart. We've been together so long, but it's time to part. You promised me love, but you took control. Alberta's breaking free and reclaiming her soul. I just wanna be strong and free. That's the way it's meant to be. No more chains from you to me. Alberta's got to be strong and free. You call it equalization, I call it exploitation. You hide behind confederation, but it's really
I've been asked to have anybody who doesn't belong on the stage to please vacate the stage. Thank you.
Sherwood, Park, Spruce Grove, Morinville, Olds, and Manton. Give me a thrill. When right west like Grand Prairie, Cold Lake, Athabasca, Edson, Sylvan, give or take. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Cross the bow and bear, man. I breathe the can and ask kiss there, man. From Peace to Waterton's Glare, man. I've been everywhere. I've been to Rocky Mountain House, Vermilion, Three Hills, Hannah, and Vermilion, yeah. Crow's Nest, Cardston, Pincher Creek, Barhead, Beaver Lodge every week. Toadfield, Trochu, Rimby, St. Paul, Strathmore, Mirror. I've seen it all. From Elk Island's Bison Roll to the coulees I call home. From Mount Columbia to the prairie skies, this land will never leave my eyes. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Seen the northern lights glare, man. Felt Chinook winds rare, man. Of Alberta pride I'll share, man.
to get things underway. We're going to wait a couple of more minutes. We got a bus coming in from Calgary. They're just stuck in traffic. They'll be here in a couple of minutes. So keep the flags waving, keep the energy up. We'll start in just a couple of minutes. Thank you.
showed up. This is the actual real first step toward an independent Alberta. Now, I want to ask you something that I think is, I'm going to ask you to keep this peaceful, but I doubt that anybody has enough courage to taunt any of you in this group. But however, let's not give them an opportunity to take a picture. So with that, first of all, I'm going to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart for coming here, and I'm going to introduce our MC, Mr. John Bolton.
Thank you, Mitch. Can the people way at the back in the cheap seats hear us? Wave your flags back there. They're hearing us. That's outstanding. Cheers to all of you. It's wonderful to have you here today. I'll get into more introductions in just a moment, but before we do that, I'd like to welcome up Minister Jeff Gooderham to start us off with a prayer. Thank you.
Would you join me in bowing our head before the Lord? O God, our God, how majestic is your name in all the earth. Blessed is everyone who fears the Lord and walks in his way. As we gather here this afternoon, we recognize that we are at a most critical moment in the history of this great province. Do we choose to pursue righteousness, justice, truth, and morality? Or do we choose to continue going down the path that leads ultimately to destruction? Today we recognize that unless the Lord builds this house, they labor in vain who build it. Unless the Lord guards this land, the watchmen stay awake in vain. And so we ask, O Lord, that you would intercede on our behalf, that you would build this house, and that you would guard this land, and that we would give to you all the glory. And so we ask, Lord, that you would begin a mighty move across this province, a move of repentance that leads to salvation, first from the evil of sin and death, then from the bondage of oppression and tyranny. For we recognize today how far as a country we have drifted from the truth of your word. And we have gathered together because we want to restore truth and we want to stand against evil. So forgive us, Lord, our trespasses, and forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Establish once more in this great province the holiness and the righteousness and the name of Jesus Christ. We thank you for this beautiful, prosperous land. To call this home is a blessing that you have graciously bestowed upon us. To raise our families, to worship freely, to work, to play is all a gift from you. And so, Lord, we pray your protection over this land, over our children, our families, our homes. We turn our eyes and our hearts to you, knowing and believing that you alone sustain all that we have. And so, Lord, for the sake of your name, for the sake of our children and grandchildren, and for the sake of this great province, we pray, O Lord, that you would continue to guide and direct us. Guard those who are leading this party, all who are serving within it. Give to them wisdom from on high. Make this movement and this province a model for all to see, that we shall serve the Lord our God, and we shall live in the blessings and the goodness of our God. For to you be the kingdom, and to you be the power, and to you alone be the glory, both now and forevermore. And all God's people said, amen.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. My name is John Bolton.
I have a YouTube channel, John Bolton AB. People call me John, but most people say, "You're the guy with the big blue mug." I always have my big blue mug when I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's wonderful. Alberta, let me take a look at you. You're looking good. You're looking really good. This is amazing. I talk about politics on my channel, talk about the Liberals a little bit. I talk about the Liberals a lot, okay? But I talk about independence a lot as well. I'm here because the same reason as you. I've spoken to a lot of the people on the stage here today. I'm honored to be standing here today. A guy from Ontario 15 years ago, standing here, part of the Alberta independence movement, is just remarkable for me. It really is. I think there might be some people talking a little bit about politics today. Here's some laughs from the right of me here. Earlier this week, Mark Carney stood up and said, "Do we all have to sacrifice, folks?" Do you think you've sacrificed enough? I really think that Alberta has sacrificed enough, folks. And it's time for us to move on. I want to take a moment right now to thank all the people for being here today. You, of course, and the people on the stage here. I was talking to Mitch, Sylvester, the CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project, earlier this week. He said he's put something like 65,000 kilometers on his car driving around this province over the last year, from town to town, talking to 100, 200, 300 people. Dr. Dennis Modri is here today. He's been traveling from town to town, and Jeff Rath's been doing that, and Keith's been talking about this, and the people on the stage here have been working hard to pass along the message of independence. It's in their hands, but folks, this movement is in your hands as well. And I mean that figuratively, and I mean it literally, because all of you own one of these. And you can pass along our message of independence using one of these. So before you leave today, if you're on social media, record a message and encourage people to join our movement. And tag it with "I am Alberta," okay? You've got power in your hands. Pass along the message. I've seen a lot of messages online, but do it before you leave today. I want to see, what, 20,000 messages by the time I leave Edmonton today. So what I want to do, we're going to get to our first speaker in just a moment. I want to welcome up somebody you guys probably know. Derek Smith, Unacceptable Fringe, is here with us today. And where's Benita Peterson? Come on over here, Benita. Okay, so what we're going to do here to start things off today, I want to cut the crowd right down the middle, right between where you see that Alberta flag way back in the distance there. You're on Benita's side, you're on Derek's side. And this side is the side that yells, "I am," and this side yells, "Alberta." So when you see her raise her hand, raise your hand, Benita. That was pitiful. No. Let's start one more time. Come on, I am. You can do better. I think the I ams are better. Let's try it again. Yes. Okay, terrific. But you know what? I think the independence move needs to be united. I think we need to bring everybody together here. So why don't we do it all together and yell it as loud as possible? Because we want this. Get your cameras going, folks. We want this to go viral. So are you ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. Again. Again. One more time. Outstanding. Give yourself a round of applause, everyone. Okay, Carrie, we're going to play a clip in just a second, just to get you set up for that. Before I bring my first speaker up here today, I want to play a clip, give credit where it's due to Ezra Levant from Rebel News for a question. Yes. Ezra, I hope your eyes are better after getting pepper sprayed over in Ireland, I think it was this week. But he asked a question during the leadership campaign for the United Conservative Party. And Danielle Smith was the one who answered. Carrie, hit the audio.
Economic minority, but they did something different. They had an or else added to the end of it. How far are you willing to go? Are you willing to say, we want these things or else? At what stage would you, for example, invoke the Clarity Act as clarified by the Supreme Court? For example, calling a referendum on the Clarity Act question of secession. Do you have an or else in mind? What is it and what would make you use it? And if not, how are you serious? And I'll start off with Danielle Smith on that one.
The or else is Dennis Modri and the Alberta Prosperity Project. It's true. We proclaimed into law on April the 7th the Citizen Initiative Act, which gives the people the power to collect signatures for a petition campaign to propose an amendment. If it's a simple matter of policy, it's a 10% threshold. If it's a constitutional change, it's a 20% threshold. That would mean 600,000 signatures. And as I understand it, Dr. Modri has 1 million people on his database. So part of when I decided I wanted to run, I knew how important it was to make sure that we addressed the issues of autonomy. And I talked to Dr. Modri as one of my first steps. I said, let's try this together. Let's get as much autonomy as we can. Full well knowing that he's got the power, you've got the power. If we're not successful, and this is why I take your movement very, very seriously, and why Justin Trudeau should take it very, very seriously too, because you have the power to be able to be the or else.
Our first speaker today is a cardiothoracic surgeon and critical care specialist who started and directed Western Canada's first heart and lung transplantation program. During his 32 years in practice, he also served on the finance committee of successive provincial conservative governments since the Getty era. He is a founding member and chair of the Alberta Prosperity Society PLAS Project. Dr. Dennis Modri.
Thank you, John. Wow, what a fantastic crowd. There are thousands of our fellow Albertans here today. Thank you for being at the largest ever rally for Alberta's sovereignty in Alberta's history. We are at an inflection point, ladies and gentlemen, a time in history where we have a choice. And that choice is, do we continue to be subservient to Ottawa and the enslavement by our federal government? Or do we chart a new path forward to freedom and prosperity through independence? We know that we've been in a colonial relationship with our federal government for the last 120 years, wherein we've been subjugated, dominated, exploited, and our self-determination inhibited. And we know as well that the very Supreme Court views those criteria as the reason why a people can form a new country. The federation that we exist under is functioning exactly the way it was intended to function, with federal domination and control of Alberta. But the good news, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have the leverage, we have the power We have the ability to empower our provincial government to be able to, for the first time in history, negotiate a new sovereign Alberta from a position of strength, and that position of strength comes from a successful referendum on Alberta sovereignty. Now, what is sovereignty? Think about sovereignty this way. Sovereignty is the highest expression of ultimate power and control. For example, God is sovereign. Nothing is above God. At a more elementary level, ladies and gentlemen, sovereignty is self-governance. It's freedom from external interference. What sovereignty is not, however, is a right or a left issue. Sovereignty is pragmatic because it benefits everybody. Every political stripe is benefited. Whether you're a union member or not a union member, you will benefit from the massive improvement in our future as a sovereign country. Now, ladies and gentlemen, freedom also means freedom from persecution. It means freedom from political persecution, economic persecution, cultural and religious persecution, freedom from regulatory persecution, and here's one you will remember, freedom from medical persecution. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, sovereignty is noble, and the pursuit of sovereignty is noble. It is noble to pursue self-determination. It is noble to pursue your goals and aspirations. It is noble to pursue freedom and prosperity. And you know what's really noble is when we all come together and seek sovereignty. And it is also noble to entrench in our future Constitution of Alberta those Judeo-Christian values and principles that were foundational to Western civilization, civil society, the rule of law, and our God-given freedoms and rights that can never be stripped away from us. Let's look at sovereignty from the individual perspective. Think of each one of you as a sovereign person, all right? And then all of a sudden, there's a regulation. Then there's a tax, and then there's more regulations, and then there's more taxes. And pretty soon, you need a permit to leave your house. Pretty soon, you no longer have the ability to purchase the goods and services that you need for yourself, your family, to plan for your retirement, and we're just about there right now. But think about this, ladies and gentlemen. In 1910, the tax rate was 6% in Alberta. In 1950, it was 18%. In 2010, it was 36%. Today, it's 43%. Can you imagine what it would be like if we were completely out from under all federal regulation and taxation? Can you just imagine? Can you imagine the circumstance where everybody pays nothing more than maybe 5-8% maximal? Think about the benefit to you. Think about the sovereignty that you have as an individual. Let's look at sovereignty from the provincial perspective. Remember when Premier Smith and the UCP government were elected? They introduced Bill 1. That was their first piece of legislation. That was called the Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act. Why was that implemented? It was implemented, ladies and gentlemen, so that the provincial government would have some legislative authority to push back against federal encroachment. Actually, federal usurpation of provincial constitutional authority. How has it worked out? Well, you know something, it hasn't worked out that well. Why? Because you would think in a properly functioning federation that when provinces have legitimate grievances, you would be able to come to some sort of amicable resolution. But in reality, that hasn't happened. Our provincial government, just like all former provincial governments, in order to deal with the federal government, have had to launch lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit against the federal government. Currently, there are some 18 lawsuits that have been launched by this provincial government against our federal government in relation to the development and transport of our natural resources, with respect to agriculture, with respect to with censorship, and with respect to our property rights. When you think about it, this is no way for a federation to operate. Who benefits from this? Well, with respect, the lawyers benefit, and the provincial government itself benefits because it looks as though they're doing something, but they're doing the same thing that leads never to a solution. And that's the problem. Now, fortunately, ladies and gentlemen, fortunately, we can do something. And the Premier has started this off. We have to give her credit. When she met with Mr. Carney soon after he was elected, she made 9 demands, right? And she said, if these demands are not met, that will lead to a threat to national unity. Well, what could she possibly mean, a threat to national unity? It can mean only one thing. It means that if we don't get those demands met, Alberta's out. Alberta's leaving. That's what it means. And we've seen, ladies and gentlemen, through the Alberta Next panel, 8 constitutional requests that she'd like to see. Well, what is the likelihood of achieving those 8 constitutional changes? Knowing there are 4 virtually impossible hurdles to overcome, the likelihood is 0. The 2 main attempts to change the Constitution in the past, Mitch Lake and Charlottetown, failed, so the probabilities are 0. But you know what? Ladies and gentlemen, you know what we can do here? We can, what was mentioned earlier, the Premier mentioned it in that little audio clip, is we can use the Clarity Act, which is the legal pathway for Alberta to leave Canada. 3 criteria: a clear question, a clear outcome, and demonstration that we've discussed the issues with other interested parties. Well, we've posed that clear question, and here it is. Do you agree that Alberta shall become a sovereign country and cease to be a province in Canada? And you know what? And you know what? The Premier and the Minister of Justice, Mr. Mickey Amory, have come out publicly and said, we want that question to go forward. Okay? Now, here's the thing. In order for that question to go forward, we either need to win in court, which we may well do, or the Premier and Mr. Amory can have their actions, or their words rather, followed by action. And here's the action that they could do. If they really believe in what they said, that they support and want this question to go forward, what they need to do is they need to legislate the removal of the criteria of Section 1 to 35.1 in the Citizens Initiative Act and in the Referendum Act. They need to remove it legislatively and let an honest referendum take place in the spring of 2026, which is exactly what she said she wanted to do. Let's see if that happens. Finally, my final question and then a comment. My final question, ladies and gentlemen, if Alberta was already a sovereign country, would you want Alberta to join Canada under the current terms and cost of membership? Of course you wouldn't. And since We would not join Confederation under the current terms and cost of membership. Ladies and gentlemen, our provincial government has an ethical, a moral, and an economic responsibility to fix this dysfunctional problem and get us to sovereignty. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Modri. Whoa. Thank you, Derek. Thank you. Got to get that big blue mug up here. Just let me get my paper straightened out. Wave those flags. They look beautiful out there. Somehow I knew this was going to happen. There we go. Our next speaker is Tanya Clemens, an Alberta farmer, mother, and educator. Thanks, Keith. Grassroots voice for sovereignty, inspiring audiences with a vision of faith, family, and freedom, with insight to show how sovereignty means prosperity for families and communities. Tanya, thank you.
Good evening, Alberta. I stand before you tonight not as a politician, not as an economist, but as a farmer, a teacher, and a mom, and someone who loves this land with all I've got. This is my Alberta flag, the one I proudly fly on my combine during harvest. And every morning that I've walked across the field this past harvest, I see this flag. I see my family working together, one running the grain cart, another on the combine, one hauling a load in the semi. And in those quiet moments, I feel peace. I'm not thinking about Ottawa. I'm not thinking about politics. I'm thinking about the land, the sky, the work before me, and the people I love. That's what freedom feels like to me. In my little corner of Alberta, where my work and my way of life are respected and honored, where my faith, family, and freedom are cherished. But over the past decade, that freedom feels more fragile than ever. Every year, Ottawa reaches a little further into our homes, our schools, our farms, our lives, our bank accounts. And make no mistake, when they mess with the people who grow the food, they mess with every family that eats it. So let me ask you this. When you think of your place right now in Canada, do you feel that your faith, your family, and your freedom are being honored and respected? If you answered no, then you already understand why Alberta must stand up. We've seen this disrespect again and again. Take Bill C-293, the so-called Pandemic Preparedness Act, giving Ottawa sweeping powers to seize land and property in the name of safety. And they can do that. Property rights, the right to your land, your home, the fruits of your labor, were never enshrined in Canada's Constitution. They can be changed, taxed, or taken with the stroke of a pen. When Ottawa slapped tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, it made for great headlines out east. But out here, we knew what would happen next. China retaliated with a 78% tariff on Canadian canola. Our gold crop, our prairie pride, and also an industry that's bigger than Canada's automobile, aluminum, and steel sectors combined. And Ottawa knew it. They knew it would hit the West the hardest, and they did it anyways. Our story, Alberta's story, is one of hard work, heartbreak, and hope. It's the story of a people who have kept showing up year after year, no matter how many times Ottawa said no. So I'd like to just walk you through a brief history of our attempts to try to carve out a better place within Confederation and through the lens of a farmer. To understand where we're going, we need to understand why. We were brought into Confederation in 2005. We had the oil, the grain, the grit, but not the freedom. When we joined, we weren't given control of our own resources. Ottawa kept that. After all, we were brought in to fuel the East. More control over Western farming showed up with the Canadian Wheat Board. By 1943, it wasn't a choice anymore, it was a monopoly forced solely on the West, and we had only one buyer, Ottawa. Imagine a farmer in the 1940s, after a season of struggle and toil. Their bins are full, and a fair price is waiting just across the border, but they're not able to market their own grain. Then, a bigger boog even came 1980, when Pierre Trudeau's energy minister, Marc Lalonde, rolled out the National Energy Program. He actually admitted at that time that the plan was to stop Alberta from becoming the economic powerhouse of this country. Think about that. He saw Ottawa saw Alberta rising, and they decided to cut us down. Overnight, our energy sector collapsed. That was the decade that Alberta learned what Ottawa's version of unity truly meant. We feed, we fuel, we pay, and they decide. It's gonna get happier. In the 1990s, a handful of courageous farmers standing up to Ottawa's tyranny said enough. They hauled their own grain south of the border to sell for a fair price. And Ottawa answered with shackles, handcuffs, and jail time for selling their very own grain. In 2001, our leaders wrote the firewall letter. Remember that? They asked for control over pensions, policing, taxation. Does that sound familiar? Because 24 years later, we're still asking for the exact same things. In 2012, farmers finally won back their marketing freedom. The Wheat Board's monopoly was broken, but then Ottawa sold the Wheat Board itself to foreign interests. We built it, and they sold it. Do you see now? We grow it, they tax it. We earn it, they take it. We build it, and they sell it. In 2019, we again asked for fairness through the Fair Deal panel. Ottawa shrugged and did nothing. In the 2021 referendum, 62% of Albertans voted to end equalization, and Ottawa just laughed because they know the truth. Alberta can't possibly open the Constitution to challenge equalization. To challenge that single clause, that one sentence that drains billions from Alberta every year, we'd have to clear 4 nearly impossible hurdles. The first one is that 7 out of 10 provinces representing 50% of the population have to agree. The second one is we'd have to have a majority vote in the House of Commons. The third is we would have a majority vote in the Senate. And if we magically somehow passed those 3 hurdles, the fourth one is a real killer, because Quebec holds a veto, and they never even signed the 1982 Constitution. So let's be clear, it's not that we haven't tried. Albertans have tried for 120 years, and Ottawa's answer has always been the same: no. Albertans, it's time we face the truth. Ottawa's system cannot be fixed from within. Every path to fairness is blocked by design. Every single year, we lose between $20 and $28 billion in equalization payments. That's about $6,000 per Albertan. Or for an average family of 4, that's $24,000 your family gives away to Ottawa for no services in return. That's money that you earned and money you'll never see again. But after all these things, they have not yet broken our spirit. I was talking with my sister the other day about Alberta's future, and she's a big fan of Canada. She loves the whole idea of being part of Team Canada. And honestly, I get that. Even my sovereigntist heart understands the pull. But we both agreed on one thing. Alberta is not getting a fair deal in Canada right now. And here's the truth. If we actually want real change, the kind that means opening up the Constitution, that's nearly impossible for Albertans to do on our own. But if we vote yes in a sovereignty referendum, that changes everything. Suddenly, Alberta is not begging to be heard. We'd be negotiating from a position of strength for the first time in our history. And when that happens, when we vote yes to sovereignty, Ottawa will listen. And here's the real beauty of it. Regardless of where you sit on sovereignty, when we vote in favor of a sovereign Alberta, we get to decide our own fate. That's the power shift. Canada won't want to lose the economic powerhouse that is Alberta. They'll come to the table, and quick. And maybe we'll like the proposal that they bring for Alberta's new place within Confederation. Or maybe we'll decide to build something new, something better. Maybe we will build something that actually reflects Alberta's values and goals, because that's what this is about: choice and voice. So whether you're all in on independence or you just wish for a better deal within Confederation, that's what this sovereignty vote is about. It isn't about dividing, it's about uniting. Although just a few weeks ago, powers that benefit from a handcuffed Alberta sent out Jason Kenney to attack this movement as selfish and divisive. And his quote is, "It's bananas if we allow a tiny, perennial, angry minority to drag the whole province through a deeply divisive debate, a referendum that would divide families, divide communities, divide friends for no useful purpose." But wanting this referendum for Alberta is not divisive, it is unifying. The pursuit of prosperity for Albertans is unifying. The pursuit of self-determination, the freedom to live the life that you want, is unifying. This is about respecting and honoring the faith, family, and freedoms of Albertans, and everything that this flag stands for. Thank you. Those who benefit from a weekend Alberta, they will use propaganda to convince you otherwise, to keep us divided and dependent. Do not fall for it. I believe we all want the same thing: to work hard, to build something lasting, and to know our efforts count for something. And sovereignty is how we fix what's been broken. Imagine an Alberta where the wealth we generate stays here, where income tax is eliminated, where our Constitution protects property rights, freedom and family, and where a direct democracy returns the power truly back to the people. That's not a dream. That's Alberta sovereignty. That's the harvest of freedom we've been planting for over 120 years. And I know the thought of forming a new nation is intimidating. It's scary, I feel that. We've never done this before. But here's the truth. Much of the world is looking to Alberta to succeed, to be the light of freedom and prosperity that our world needs. And we can be that. There is a path out of this, and my heart is filled with so much hope. You see, courage doesn't mean we're not afraid. It means if we go ahead and we plant that seed anyways. And one day when our children and grandchildren look back at this time, I want them to be able to say, they were the ones who planted the seed, who tilled the soil, and who had the courage to harvest freedom. Faith, family, and freedom. That's Alberta. That's who I am. That's who we are. So may Alberta be forever strong and free. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. We've got a number of speakers left, of course. Keith Wilson, Chris Scott, Mitch Sylvester, Jeff Rath. We've got another one to get your blood pumping in just a moment, but I just have to do this. I hope you don't mind, but I really want to get a picture of all of you with me. Everybody smile. Okay. Up next, you know this guy. You probably watch him on YouTube all the time. Him and Mrs. Fringe during their live streaming. I was watching them last night. Derek Smith, Unacceptable Fringe.
Hey, Alberta! Who's ready for independence? You can do better than that. Who's ready for independence? That's better. Folks, if you don't know me, you should. My name's Derek Smith. I'm the host of Unacceptable Fringe on YouTube. You should join us if you haven't. Sometimes I talk about Mark Carney, sometimes we talk about Captain Blackface, we talk about the Liberals. But today we're here to talk about something far more important, and I can tell you right now, Ottawa better start taking notes and shaking in their boots, because this doesn't look like a small fringe minority to me. I moved to this province as a teen. I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and my father put me and my family in a moving van. And when I asked him why we were moving out to Alberta, he said this is a province of opportunity. A place where if you're willing to get your hands dirty and work, you can work your way up a ladder and you can be successful. That promise has diminished, especially in the last 10 years, under the countless scandals, the theft, the lies, the stealing, the tyranny of Justin Trudeau and his puppet master, Mark Carney. There's a silver lining, folks. Dr. Modri, Jeff Rath, Mitch Sylvester have tirelessly toured this province to ensure that Albertans are educated, that they're ready to fight, that they're ready to vote their way to a prosperous Alberta. Our youth can't afford homes. They can't find jobs. The middle class can't afford groceries. They have to decide whether they're going to turn on their lights or put food in the fridge for their families. Our seniors are living in tents. Our veterans are being ignored. That is not the Alberta I moved to. I'm told constantly on my channel, Fringe, there is no way you can vote your way out of this mess. I beg to differ. Alberta, you've been handed a golden ticket. You've been given a golden opportunity. You've said for years, your vote has no weight in the federal elections. Our Senate is unrepresented. Our votes just put bums in chairs while Toronto, Southern Ontario, and Montreal decide who runs our country. But this vote, ladies and gentlemen, this vote gives you more weight and more power than you've ever had in your life. If you are a true Albertan, you owe it to your children, grandchildren, your future great-grandchildren to vote for prosperity, to ensure that there is a land left here for them, that they can afford homes, they can have families, they can build memories, and they can be prosperous and free. A message was sent in the 1980s by the federal government. I'm sending one back today, and we'll retool what they said in the 1980s. Screw the rest. Let's take back the West. We have the numbers, we have the ability, folks, to ensure our sovereignty. We have the ability to get away from taxation, from scandals. We have the ability to get away from provinces that say our oil and gas is filthy and unacceptable. We have the ability to open up partnerships with the rest of the world while our government ignores us and says that they don't need to do work with Alberta and they don't need to bring investment in. And I don't know about you folks, but I am sick and tired of giving 50% of what I earn to a bunch of crooks in Ottawa, jet set around the world, and to tell me that what I do for a living is dirty and unacceptable. As I look at this sea of flags and this sea of blue and all of these Alberta patriots standing before me today, I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen. We are Alberta. We will be free. We will be prosperous. We will not go quietly into the night, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the start of us getting our independence.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you to all of our speakers so far. We've got more coming. Thank you very much for being here. It does my heart good to see all of you. It really does. Up next, we've got Keith Wilson. You've probably seen Keith, heard him. Top constitutional lawyer, fearless advocate for Alberta's sovereignty, stood for freedom during the convoy. And now fights to free Alberta from Ottawa's grip. Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Albertans, proud sons and daughters of this great land that we call home, thank you for coming here today. Look around you. Look at all these flags. Look at your neighbors. Look at the resolve in everyone's face. We all understand the gravity of the moment that's before us, the seriousness of the path ahead, the darkness if we don't make the right choices. What you see here around you today is the rise of Alberta. And each one of you has come here today because you are concerned about what you see happening to our country. You look at the policies that have been coming out of Ottawa, especially in the last 10 years. The no more pipeline laws, the emissions cap, the net zero, the requirement for us to all get EVs, all of these things. Not only are they ill-considered policies, not only are they policies with bad effect, what's truly remarkable is they are policies designed to intentionally hold us back, to intentionally keep the third largest reserve of oil and gas in the world in the ground. But it's worse than that, and we know this. You're here today because you look at the forced wealth distribution that arises from equalization. Our hard work goes to fund pet project virtue signaling adventures set by Ottawa. Equally troubling, you look at the reckless spending, the debt, the deficits, the printing of money. What does that do? It devalues the money in your bank account. It devalues your paycheck. It devalues your retirement funds. All of this is preventing us, and more importantly, our children, from having the opportunities that we had. The opportunities to build a family, to have children, to own a home, to live a happy and prosperous life. And again, I remind you, these policies are not an accident. It's a conscious decision by Ottawa because they see the world through a different lens. They believe that they know better, that they're green gods, and we shall keep all of our resources in the ground. But they don't stop there. They have policies that attack our culture, that attack our way of life, that attack our religion, that attack our property rights. And it's about to get worse because you've seen Bill C-9 and others that they're bringing in that are censorship laws. They don't like the fact that I can come here today and speak to you openly and freely, and that you can come and listen, and they want to stop that. They don't like the fact that Derek Smith has a YouTube channel. They don't like it that we can be on Twitter, and they want to stop all that. And that, folks, is scary. The reality is, we all know this. Many of us wake up in the morning thinking, did I just have a really complex and vivid bad dream nightmare about everything that's going on? And what do I mean by that? We've slipped into dystopian times. But what we want, and I want, is not to fix Ottawa, as the most Albertan man in the world says at the end of his videos. He doesn't want to fix Canada. He wants to save Alberta. But you're also here today, each and every one of you, because you love Alberta, because you know our Western heritage and its values, our culture of freedom, our ethic for hard work, our preference of working hard rather than a handout, our mentality, if we get knocked down, we dust ourselves off, we get back up and we get it done. We don't wake up in the morning. Unfortunately, some of you know I spent a lot of time in 2022 in Ottawa, both with the Freedom Convoy and then in the public inquiry in the fall, and they see the world through a different lens. When they wake up in the morning, their first thought is, what is the government going to do for me today? What is the government going to give me today? When we wake up, our first thought is, boy, I hope the government's not going to stop me from getting stuff done today. We have an incredibly beautiful province. The diversity of our landscape, the diversity of our economy, the diversity of our people. We know the value of our worth. We know the value of our province. We know the value of our resources. And what we need is to get Ottawa's knee off our neck so that we can achieve that potential, that we can deliver the prosperity, we can give our children tremendous opportunity to live a free, happy, and prosperous life. And you know what, folks? We are in a unique time. We are in a unique time in that no other parliamentary democracy in the world has laid out a legal pathway for a province or a state to legally leave. This is unique, okay? And as you know, that process involves a referendum. If the majority of the voters in a province vote in a referendum on a clear question to leave and become an independent country, then the process for that province to leave and become a sovereign country begins. So before us is the opportunity to fight for our kids, to work towards getting the votes we're going to need in this referendum. To me, that is the most critical thing. Now, I know many of you are concerned about this court case that's going on, or maybe Fabio Lukasic's nothing burger petition. Don't worry about it. Even if he gets his numbers, nothing happens. As the judge said in the Court of King's Bench matter, it's a nothing burger. We do have some challenges, and I'm working with Jeff Rath and Eva Chipiuk, who are doing a phenomenal job in fighting that in the court so that we can get this question through the petition process. But I'm confident that no matter what happens in that process, and this is critically important, that next year, whether it's in the spring or the fall, there will be a province-wide referendum. But we cannot, for the sake of our children, underestimate the magnitude of that challenge. We have to get like 1.8 million Albertans to vote yes. That means every single one of you is now charged with a mission. And that mission is to talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues at work, the guys on your shift, the people in your baseball team or your hockey league, everybody that you encounter, to have the awkward discussions, to get them to understand the opportunity that's before us, the opportunity that how they will benefit, how their family will benefit, how their community will benefit, how their kids will benefit by voting yes. That is the imperative that we all have. We can do it. You must do it. Are we going to fight for our kids? We can't delay. It's game time. When you leave here, make sure that you commit yourself to all of the good points as to why it makes sense to do this. And you know, people will be afraid. People will be afraid about this idea of becoming an independent country. But what's more scary? Any uncertainty associated with that, or the certainty of the dystopian, impoverished nightmare that lies before us under the crazy carny liberals from Ottawa? We can't delay. We can't slow down. This is our moment. This is our future for our families, for our children, for Alberta. Alberta will be free.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Keith. Freedom, 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 freedom. Awesome. Our next speaker, Chris Scott. Owner, operator of Whistle Stop Cafe in Mirror, Alberta. Chris is a courageous defender and advocate of Albertans' rights and freedoms against government overreach. Chris.
Well, thank you very much for that warm welcome, and thank you for making your way to Edmonton, Alberta, to the steps of our legislature to make your voices heard as Alberta. So I have something to show you. I never do this, but I actually wrote a speech. Can you believe that? I'm not going to read it. The reason I wrote a speech today is because it occurred to me very recently that number one, there was going to be probably tens of thousands of people here, and that's freaking terrifying for me. Number two, it really hit me like a freight train, and I know because that's happened, that this is probably the most important thing that any of us will do in our lifetimes. You know, we've been upset with taxes and equalization and not being heard and all those things for so long. Nothing's ever really been done. Nobody's really taken the time to show up and fix these things. We've had plenty of politicians that do a lot of this. For those in the back, I'm making the talkie motion with my hand. And they do things like they hold a referendum on equalization. Do you want to end equalization? We say yes, and nothing happens. And that's because no politicians actually want to do these things. They don't want things to change. Those in power, they don't want us to have a voice. They want our voices to be loud enough to get them elected. And that's it. And then what they'll do is they'll do everything they can to keep that power, to keep us voting for them, giving us little trinkets, giving us a yes referendum to ending equalization as if there's some champion of rights and freedoms and Alberta prosperity. But it was never true. When Jason Kenney did that referendum, it was smoke and mirrors. Jason Kenney, the savior of Alberta, parachuted in from Ontario to save us from the NDP. Sorry, you guys didn't tell me they don't like Jason. A member of the Queen's Privy Council, benefiting greatly from the status quo. And many of them, good people as they are, they don't want to make waves, they don't want to rock the boat because the boat, it serves them well. They do what they do, and we just kind of go along with it because we think nothing can be done about it. But we've seen some things change in the last few years. I am more guilty than probably anyone here of being apathetic when it comes to politics, of saying things like, oh, I don't want to be involved in politics. Oh, I don't think about politics. The whole time forgetting that politics literally has their fingers in my life from the moment I'm born to the moment I die. I was completely apathetic and I didn't do anything. You know when I did something? When the government had me arrested for pouring coffees, when the government had me put in handcuffs because I dared to protest what they were doing. It was at that moment that I realized everything I thought about my life and who I am in this country and what the country means to me and what the Constitution, the Charter, all these things, everything that I believed was wrong. And now we're at a time where a lot of us, we've felt these things, we see these things, we've watched things happen to our friends and our neighbors in the last 5 years that we never believed could happen. We never believed that we would see pastors getting dragged down the highway, being arrested for holding church services in Canada. We never in our wildest dreams imagined that we would be arrested for the crime of protesting or for the crime of serving people food. A good friend of mine lost his business because he fed a hungry man a pizza in Canada. And all of these things that we've seen and we've felt over the last few years have had many of you, just like me, searching for answers. What is the truth in all this? What's the solution? What are the answers? Now, to be perfectly clear, I'm nobody. I'm not a lawyer. I've been to court a couple times, but not on the right side. I'm not a lawyer. I have never held somebody's heart and lungs in my hand. I haven't done anything fantastic or incredible in this life that should make people listen to me. And yet here I am on the steps of the legislature sharing with you my passion for this province and for truth and justice and freedom, not... They're going to do the freedom thing again. Yeah. Freedom! Oh, shoot. I can't put my hand up like that. That's going to be a meme. I don't do this because I have to. No, I don't do this because I want to. I do it because it's necessary. It is necessary that we start making sacrifices on some of the things that we want to do, and maybe we go stand outside in the cold and we do the things that are necessary to change our situation, to build the future that we want. It's going to take sacrifice from all of us. A good friend of mine, he once told me, you know what, Chris? You complain about the things the government are doing. They're going to keep doing that all the time. They're not going to stop. They do it because they can, because it benefits them, and because we let them. But you know what changes that? You know how we solve that? You bring enough people. If you bring enough people, it ends. If you bring enough people, you can change the world. And now, there's a lot of people here today, but it's not enough. We need more people, which means that each and every one of you, you need to ask yourself, are you willing to make the sacrifices necessary, specifically with your time, to make this happen? Are you willing to actually go and have the difficult conversations with those who may scoff at you so that you can make these changes? Are you willing to give up your Friday night or your Saturday night, like most of these people have been doing for the last 3-4 years, to make this happen? And if you're willing to answer yes, which I'm sure most of you are, then you need to walk the walk. When you leave here, you need to start doing these things. You need to educate yourselves on what the situation we're in and what the solution looks like. You need to know the details so that when you have these conversations, you're an effective ambassador for independence. Every one of you is an ambassador for Alberta independence. Did you know that? There's some great resources out there, of which the Alberta Prosperity Project website is fantastic. Almost anything you need to know about this subject, you can find there. You can arm yourselves with the knowledge you need to have these conversations. And then you can go out into this province and you can have these conversations with your friends and your neighbors. You'll know what you're talking about, and you can turn them into ambassadors for independence as well. This is no small task. This isn't a small feat. It's not an insignificant blip in politics in Alberta. This is literally going to shape the world for generations to come, not just here in Alberta, not just here in this province, but everywhere else that's watching us. And I can tell you, they're watching us. I traveled to Holland to support the farmers when they were protesting the government taking their land, and they recognized me from Alberta. They knew who I was. They knew our story. They knew our story, and they believe in what we're doing, because this is not just an Alberta-specific thing. The world is descending into a world where truth is literally spat on and kicked, and lies are celebrated as if there's some sort of ideological, principled whatever. The world is watching, and they want change too. So when, and I say when, this is not an if, this is a when Alberta declares their independence and stands on their own 2 feet, when Alberta stands on her own 2 feet and shows the rest of the world what it looks like to pursue truth, justice, and freedom, others will join. Do you think British Columbia is happy with what's going on there right now? Do you think Quebec is happy with what's going on there right now? The real salt of the earth, men and women all over the country, all over the world, have their eyes set on Alberta. They're looking to us to blaze a trail that they can follow, so that they can gain their freedom too, so that they can found their own places on faith, family, and freedom, rather than this delusional ideology that strips away rights and freedoms, breaks up families, damages children. They don't want it either. So now that we know these things, it becomes our duty to start speaking truth and standing up for what's right. I appreciate that everyone's cheering for that now, but I will tell you that it is not easy. It's not easy to speak truth, and that's a sacrifice that you're going to have to make, doing the hard things. And sometimes maybe you lose a relationship because you tell the truth about something. Maybe people don't accept you in your circles anymore because you're standing for truthfulness. But it is necessary, because I can tell you this from my own experience. For every one person that turns their back on you because you refuse to participate in the deluded thinking of the day, there will be 10 or 20 or 30 that will stand with you and support you and tell you how much they appreciate you for what you're doing. You've heard how unique our situation is here in Alberta. You've heard how wonderful and prosperous and beautiful this country of Alberta is. Will be. Do you want that? Sorry, did they answer? Did anybody hear anything? I didn't hear anything. Do you want that? Are you going to do the work? Good, because in the coming weeks, I are going to be calling on you to start doing these things. We're going to ask you to start walking the walk. We need to hit the streets and get out there and bring this message to people, because for as many people there are here There's 4.5 million people in this province, and every one of them needs to hear the message. So when you're called, when you're asked to step up and volunteer your time to go and do these things, are you going to do it? Then I can tell you with confidence that we will bring enough people in this province, and we will win.
Thank you, Chris. Great job. I just want to say, Chris. I just wanted to say to Chris, you're not a nobody, sir. You're an inspiration, so thank you so much. Something struck me while he was talking about getting other people involved. A lot of people don't want to get involved in politics. And there's a saying, people who say they're too smart to get in politics get ruled over by people who are too dumb. Up next, got to keep things moving along here, Northern Alberta Sporting Goods Store business owner, Mitch Sylvester. Mitch currently serves as the CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project.
Hello. Well, thank you very much. You know, this event started 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, when I was speaking with the Premier. And I kind of made it known that I wasn't very happy with the attention that the UCP is giving to us. So I thought, let's call a rally on October 25th so they can actually see that we exist. And here we are. And it started over a conversation about guns, and actually about the amnesty ending at the end of October this year. And they had been telling us for 2 years that they were going to help us and take care of that so Albertans wouldn't get into any trouble based on the end of the amnesty. And the amnesty was supposed to end October 31st, and the Premier had said to us that she was going to take good care of us by not allowing the RCMP to enforce the new gun laws, or the gun laws that are coming from Ottawa. So I said to her, that won't work. And we've been trying to get you to take care of us for 2 years. Last year at the AGM, they gave us a new Bill of Rights, which was supposed to include the right to bear arms. However, they put in our new Bill of Rights the right to bear arms in accordance to the law. So what did that do? Nothing. Made it worse. So I explained to her, I said, okay, so let's take a look at this scenario, November 1, the day after October 31st, when the amnesty ends. Anybody that has a restricted firearm or one that's on that prohib list will become a criminal that day. Their passport will be removed because they're criminal. Because they have a prohibited gun, they will lose their PAL, their gun license. Then the RCMP will be compelled to go to your house and grab all of your guns, including your restricted ones. So we had proposed to them a new Alberta gun license, and they went all around the province saying that they were going to do that, but they backed out of it about a week before we had this meeting. So we said, well, we had better get people together so that they understand the problem, because I really believe that Albertans will not give up their guns. Yeah. So I'm going to share something with you. I went to the Prairie Rising conference last week. Actually, you know what? I went to the Prairie Rising conference last week in Regina, and there was a gentleman there by the name of Jim St. Clair. And Jim St. Clair was a veteran. And he spoke to the people. And he said at the conference, and he said, you know, what currency are we prepared to pay to keep our freedom? Because he had just explained that he had a picture of himself on the Jumbotron, and it showed him and his paraphernalia on top of a roof of a school somewhere in the Middle East where the Taliban had gone in and killed all the girls in an all-girls school. And they had cut all the girls up and put them in a sewer in a basement. And they went in there and they killed these people that killed these girls. And his next question was to the room, what currency do you want to pay for your freedom? We have paid in blood. What I'm asking you as a people and my group is, if I call you to come to the next event, will you pay in time? I mean, no hockey, no excuses. I want 10 days a year from you. If you give me 10 days and everybody in the Alberta Prosperity Project that has signed the intent to vote for us gives us 10 days, we can win this whole thing in a very quick amount of time. So this today, thank you very much to all of you. It's been a very huge success, and I'm very proud to have helped organize this, and I'm very proud of all of our people here with APP that did all the work to organize this as well. So thank you very much. So just in saying, I've got a little thing, Carney's got the elbows up thing going. You know what, it's a kind of a hockey thing, right? I'm a hockey player. I'm going to tell you a little thing about hockey players. There's a challenge that goes on. I don't know if you're aware of it, but I'm aware of it. Sometimes guys will sidle up to you and say, come on, let's go. Do you want to go? So at that moment, you either do or you don't. And if you don't, that guy probably owns you, and you're a little intimidated, and then once you get intimidated, it stops everything from working. So here's what I'm going to ask you. Let's change that up, because the answer to, come on, let's go, is let's go, right? So I'm going to ask you as a group, you know, there's a double meaning there. Come on, let's go. So that's going to be the battle cry for our movement. How about that? So I'm going to ask you a question, and then you can tell me if you want to go or not. Is the federal government stealing from us? Are they sabotaging our industry? Are they taking us down the path to communism? Are they censoring us? Are they stealing our guns from us? Come on, let's go. Thank you very much.
Okay, our final speaker today. Jeff Rath is a constitutional lawyer. With over 2 decades of experience, he is a leader in his field, with his expertise and knowledge having been pivotal in representing the First Nation communities and suing governments across Canada. He is the General Counsel on the Alberta Prosperity Project Board and is a leader and supporter of Alberta independence. Jeff.
Hello, Alberta! I want to tell every one of you that's here today, I have never been so proud to be an Albertan. I look out across that sea of blue flags, and I see that today, going forward should be known October 25th as Alberta Independence Day. The future is ours. Now, Chris Scott was talking earlier about things that are available on the Alberta Prosperity website. I'd like everybody that hasn't done it already, when they go home tonight, I'd like you all to download a copy of a document on that website called The Value of Freedom. That document, I heard one of our hecklers out in the audience screaming, "Where's the budget?" Well, that's the budget, people. We send $70 billion a year to Ottawa in tax revenue, in GST, capital gains tax, carbon tax, industrial carbon tax, all of the bullshit taxes that Ottawa levies on us to take our wealth to fund social services in Quebec and the Maritimes. And it's time for this to stop. And that's what that document shows. We send $70 billion a year to Ottawa. We get less than $20 billion a year back. What that document shows is that even after funding an Alberta Armed Forces at 3%, tripling the amount of money spent on the Indigenous people of this province, that Ottawa has left in abject poverty. We still have First Nations reserves in this province that don't have clean drinking water. How disgusting is that, Ottawa? It's time to end the tyranny of Ottawa and keep our money at home to take care of our families, fund Alberta education, fund our hospitals, fund our doctors, fund our Indigenous people, and take care of Albertans. That document makes it clear that we can easily afford every single service provided to us by the federal government in a haphazard fashion. Like, who anymore believes that the federal government actually provides a national defense? Right? We have more people here on this square today, and I would wager we have more firearms between the bunch of us than they have in the entire Canadian Army. So what do we get for that money? We're certainly not being defended. Every time we turn around, Mark Carney, who I believe is an existential threat to the province of Alberta, when he said elbows up, what people didn't understand was elbows up, we'll elbow Alberta in the head again, because that's all he's been doing. They haven't announced an end to any of the legislation that Danielle Smith said was a deal breaker. When that issue comes up, you get some sort of mealy-mouthed statement from either Carney or one of his ministers. Oh, well, we're working to make Alberta or Canada an energy superpower. Oh, we'll get this done. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, right? And then what are they doing? When Carney talks about an energy superpower and creating a national energy corridor, what he's really talking about is not pipelines and oil and gas. Again, one of his many conflicts of interest, Brookfield has the corner on small modular nuclear reactors. So they want to have a network of power lines hooked up to Brookfield reactors, so every time you plug in the bullshit electric car that won't run in an Alberta winter into a wall socket, Carney and Brookfield are siphoning money out of your wallet through a wall socket into his secret bank account in the Caribbean. Canada has become one of the most corrupt countries in the world under Mark Carney. It's run by a bunch of scam artists from the World Economic Forum that President Trump rightly called out at the United Nations recently, calling out the green energy scam that unfortunately our premier has been paying lip service to. With all this nonsense net zero garbage, we're gonna decarbonize Alberta oil. Oh, we'll have a pipeline, but we've gotta build a giant carbon sucking machine called Pathways Alliance so we can suck CO2 out of the air that our farmers, our forests, our wildlife, all need to thrive. They're going to take the CO2 away from our environment and our farmers so that Carney might deign to give us a pipeline. Enough. Enough. We are governed by complete morons. Does anybody remember the start of the phony trade war? When we had Doug Ford turning red in the face, jumping up and down, and saying that, oh, we'll teach the Americans a lesson. We're going to cut off their Alberta oil. Does anybody remember that? Right? And then somebody whispers in his ear, hey, Doug, don't you know that all your Ontario oil comes through the States from Alberta? Oh. I mean, we are being governed by morons. You know, the gibbering Gibault, you know, the former climate change minister, who's now the minister in charge of shutting down the internet and censoring all of us, right, didn't even know that there wasn't a cross-Canada pipeline, even though that idiot had been fighting pipelines for years as an eco-terrorist with Greenpeace. This is who we are being governed by in Canada. And there is only one solution, and that is to get Alberta the hell out of Canada and become an independent country. Something else I want people to reflect on, I think some of you may know that Mitch and Dennis and I have been traveling to the US and meeting with the Trump administration at a very senior level. And I need to tell each and every one of you that there is ample support, if not enthusiastic support, for this project. There is ample support, enthusiastic support for Alberta becoming an independent country. Now, I know some members of our movement favor the 51st state. We are not a 51st state movement. We are an independent Alberta movement. The members of the US administration that we're speaking to, they know that. There are no designs to turn Alberta into the 51st state. At our last meeting, one of them pointed out, it's like, oh God, it's like, try to get that through the Senate. The Senate would want Puerto Rico and Washington, DC in return. That's never gonna happen. The other thing was, and you guys might find this funny, I did, we were all joking around about President Trump making fun of Trudeau and, just smacking Carney like the stupid little puppy that he is from time to time when he tries to pee on the carpet by making jokes about Canada becoming the 51st state. And of course, we all laughed around the table because we all went, oh yeah, who the hell would want Quebec? We have enough trouble with them in Alberta. We don't want that. So everybody that we're talking to is very clear on what we want. We want a free and independent Alberta. Now, in terms of getting us to that goal, and I think when you look at this sea of blue flags waving across this plaza today, everybody here is asking you to do some things. Next time I go to an Oilers game or go to Oilers Plaza, I want to see a sea of Alberta flags waving. I want people cheering for Alberta, not standing for the Canadian national anthem that has failed us so badly. There's some journalist wrote, oh, well, Alberta independence isn't a serious thing. I'll start believing it when people start booing the national anthem in an Oilers game. Well, think about that. I'm asking you to do that. Bring your Alberta flags. The other thing I want to talk to you all about, and this is fairly serious, is that right now, as some of you may know that follow politics, about 70 to 75% of the membership of the United Conservative Party of Alberta is in favor of independence. We need to make sure that that message gets through to our Premier loud and clear. So what I'm going to be asking all of you to do, those of you that can afford it and afford the time, and again, this is only a very small fraction of the amount of time that my colleague Mitch Sylvester is asking of you out of your 10 days. I would like all of you to go online and buy a United Conservative Party membership and buy a ticket to this year's Alberta UCP annual general meeting, the AGM, coming up here at the end of November, all right? And the reason we want you to do that is right now, about 65 to 70% of the UCP board is in favor of independence, right? After this AGM, we want 100% of the UCP board in favor of independence, and we want independence candidates elected to run the UCP. Can we do that, Alberta? I want to thank all of you for coming out today. And again, I can't tell you how proud I am today to be an Albertan, to see all of you here standing for independence, standing up for your families, standing up for the future of your children and your grandchildren, and a prosperous future for this province. Thank you all so much for coming out. God bless all of you. God bless.
Thank you, Jeff. I am Alberta. I am Alberta. I am Alberta. I am Alberta. And to echo what Mitch said, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you so much to all of our speakers. Let's give them a good round of applause. Thank you very much. Again, thanks to Mitch, Jeff, Dennis are going out all the time. If you haven't been to one of their events around the province, go out and see one. They're on the Alberta Prosperity Project website. Go there and pledge to vote for independence. Make sure you do that. Say hi to all the people around you right now. If you hadn't said hi yet, get to know your friends, spread the message, spread it on social media, get your phones out. And as you head out today, first off, be safe driving home. If you see any garbage sitting around you, pick it up. Let's leave this place spick and span. The independence doesn't leave a mess. And we're gonna do another one of these. Let's do another. We gotta do another, and we'll bring out 5 times as many people. It's been an honor to be here today. Be safe. And I can hardly wait to vote for independence. Thank you. I was just told that there is free fruit for children in the gray tent over there if you want to get some fruit heading out.